up to their same tricks and not letting me do horizontal for the live stream. We figured this out yesterday on my husband's channel. YouTube has made it so that if you're going live from your cell phone, you must go vertical because they hate content creators and they hate subscribers, obviously, because nobody wants to look at this shit in this orientation. Yet here we are. So thank you for sticking with me looking like this. I absolutely hate it. I think it's stupid. It's atrocious. YouTube is effing up all across the board. I don't know, start a petition to YouTube to quit with the vertical crap, but it is what it is. Hello. Welcome to Squirrel Tribe. It is 10:45 a.m. Yes, I've made sure to do this. I think this is the third day in a row. We have done the exact same time, exact same format, everything else, kind of make it like a show kind of thing, right? It is October the 4th. It is Friday. And a lot more has happened since yesterday's 10:45 October 3rd live stream. Last 24 hours, more stuff has happened. More stuff has come out about Kamala Harris, Doug Emhoff. More stuff has happened with the Hurricane Helene relief or lack thereof for the people of Asheville, North Carolina and surrounding areas and all the other states, right? And then just things with Iran, Israel, Ukraine, Russia, all kinds of stuff. And we still have our vice presidential debate to talk about because I have continued to slack on that and I have tons of stuff to talk about and we're going to get to it. Hopefully you guys had a good day yesterday. I have some people in here I can see asking what happened to my husband's live stream yesterday. YouTube did not like, I guess, the way it was set up or what we were trying to do, and they would not let our live stream go through yesterday on my husband's channel. Thankfully, it's allowing this today. Fingers crossed it doesn't kick it out. Who knows? They actually, off topic, but Laura Loomer posted on X that YouTube basically took her channel away because they said that she was I have it saved somewhere in my notes here. It's somewhere in here. We'll get to it at some point, but they've gone after Laura Loomer on YouTube because they don't like what she has to say. And I'm like, oh shit. Squirrel Tribe's next. Like, they're going after the conservatives. They're going after anybody who's Republican. They're going after anybody who is pro-MAGA, pro-Donald Trump, anybody who is, not pro-Kamala Harris, not pro-trans whatever, not pro-Democrat. They're going after them on these platforms because these platforms are run by the left, which makes it very hard for people like me and other channels, Benny Johnson, Laura Loomer, Candace Owens, my husband's channel, Kevin_24x7, makes it very difficult for people like us to have these conversations and not be worried about getting completely shut down. But you know what? At the end of the day, it is what it is. They shut me down. Guess what's going to happen? We're coming back. Like, that's all there is to it. You're not going to shut me up. My we've been married for 16 years. Even he's never been able to shut me up. He's never tried, so there's a plus. But I'm going to stay opinionated. I'm going to continue speaking my mind and speaking the truth, no matter what platform I'm on and what they try to do to me. So just know, if for some reason you go searching for Squirrel Tribe one day and it's gone, there will be another one that pops back up, so continue looking. Okay, now let's jump into a little bit of everything, because like I said, there's a lot for today. I have not been able to get y'all out of here in under an hour, so I'm not even going to pretend like today is going to be any different. Just as a heads up, you might want to take a potty break, maybe have a snack. I don't know, but we're going to jump into everything. So number one, let's make sure I don't have any volume stuff up anywhere. I had this and I don't know why I saved this to send to you guys. It was about the Israel struck a Russian airbase. Ah, yes, now I remember why I have this for you. So yesterday, we're going to get into a lot of topics, like I said, and they're going to ping pong because it's Squirrel Tribe and that's what we do. But the first one I have here is that Israel struck a Russian airbase in Syria for the first time. Okay, this is important and let me explain why. Israel attacked warehouses of the Russian Khmeimim, look, I don't speak Russian. I don't know how to say these things. Airbase shortly after an Iranian plane unloaded its weapons for Hezbollah. Russian air defenses tried intercepting the Israeli missiles but failed. Let's unpack this real quick. We here are focused on what is happening to our citizens, what's happening in the borders of our country because of Hurricane Helene, because of the open border crisis that Kamala Harris and Joe Biden have perpetuated, right? We are focused on that. But it is very important to pay attention to what's going on outside of our borders. And right now you have Iran attacking Israel, Israel attacking other places, Hamas, Palestine, them attacking each other. You've got Ukraine and Russia attacking. Now you have Iran and Russia working together. And here's where this is a problem. The fact that Israel struck a Russian air base, okay, that is in conjunction with Iran because they're holding weapons, helping each other with weapons. If Russia is to strike back at Israel, guess what happens? The United States is now in this war because we have a pact or a treaty or whatever words need to be used with Israel to help Israel. We have the same thing with Taiwan. And a couple other places, and I'm not huge on all of the military things and the pacts and the treaties that we have, so I'm not going to be your channel for that. I'm just giving you the information I do have and what I do understand of it. There's going to be bigger channels out there. I would say go watch Stephen Gardner if you guys want more on like the wars and stuff. But the fact of the matter is, with Israel striking a Russian air base in Syria, it's going to be bad for our men and women, because if Russia strikes back at Israel, now we have this whole just complete shit show going on. But because we are allies of Israel, they're going to send our men and women into war with Russia, basically is what it comes down to. Right now, we're helping Ukraine in its war with Russia, but I don't think they've really sent any of our men and women boots on the ground into Russia to fight Russia. But if this is to go farther from Israel, striking the Russian air base in Syria, we're going to have our sons, daughters, brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles, mothers, fathers in this war. And so now this whole Kamala Harris, Joe Biden of, well, we haven't had any wars and none of our troops have gone to war. That's going to be right out the window. But I was telling my husband yesterday when we were talking about this, it feels like what is happening right now. We literally have the election in 4 weeks, all of 4 weeks. It feels like everything is that term coming to a head. It feels like everything that could go wrong, possibly go wrong, is going wrong right now. And I told my husband, Kevin, I said, listen, it feels like Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are doing their absolute best to ensure that if Donald Trump does win this presidency, that once he steps into office, he is walking into the biggest shit show the United States has ever seen. He will be walking into a world war. He'll be walking into shut down ports, although, side note, off topic, but the ports did come to a temporary agreement until January 15th in order to open the ports back up so that people could still get the supplies that they need, which is great for Hurricane Helene. There are tons of army vehicles, military vehicles at the ports on the East Coast right now. And I assume they showed up in hopes of this deal somehow being met so they can get some of the supplies off and hopefully take them to the victims of Hurricane Helene in all the different states: Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, Tennessee, Virginia, some in Alabama, I think even, but not a lot. And I think that's the majority of it. But the fact that the ports have opened back up until January 15th is huge. It's great, right? But at the same time, you have to take into consideration January 15th. Well, the new president's really taken over January 21st, I believe it is. So if Donald Trump is to win, he would be walking into World War III/4/5 because there's so many wars going on, walking into shut down ports on the East Coast, walking into the highest level of illegal aliens, illegal immigrants we've ever seen in this country, walking into the biggest deficit we've ever had in this country, walking into low unemployment, walking into the worst mortgage and housing issues we've had forever, walking into literally all kinds of things. And then they're going to spend the next 4 years talking about how bad Donald Trump has done because of blah, 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 without really reminding people that it's the current Democrat administration in office that is setting up this entire shit show for the next president, whether it is Donald Trump or whether it's Kamala Harris. If it's Kamala Harris and she is setting this up on purpose and is going to be the one placed in January or after November 5th, then we're not going to make it 4 more years. Plain and simple, not going to make it 4 more years. Now, the other things I have here, I wanted to bring you the information about the Israel bombing of the Russian blah, 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 because again, it's very important. It involves our American citizens ending up having to go to war for something that we literally have nothing to do with, right? But this is also important. I sent these to myself days ago, but I want to remind you guys of this. The Democrat Republican vice presidential debate that was on CBS, moderated by Margaret Brennan and some other chick. One of them looked like she had a stick up her ass, and the other one had raccoon eye makeup. Neither one of them, whatever. The CBS debate, the vice presidential debate with J.D. Vance and Tim Walz, the husband of the CBS moderator, Margaret Brennan, the same one who kept fact-checking J.D. Vance, even though they said no fact-checking, right? Her husband's name is, I'm going to mess it up, Ali Ayad Yaqub, probably not from the Midwest, right? A Muslim born to Syrian parents who wrote a 2005 paper from Miami University titled The Islamic Roots of Democracy, arguing Sharia, I think that's how you say it, Sharia laws embodies justice and tolerance. So the same moderator on a Democrat channel or Democrat run and led news station, whatever, was the unbiased moderator for the J.D. Vance Tim Walz debate. And she was the one who was constantly just picking at J.D. Vance. And now it makes sense because her husband was also part of the anti-Trump, what did my husband call it? He called it something, and I don't have the notes here. He was part of something that's basically fully anti-Trump, absolutely everything, absolutely awful. So for this woman to have been allowed to be a moderator makes absolutely no sense whatsoever at all, in my personal opinion. And I cannot think of what it was called. If anybody knows, say it in the comment section. Lincoln Project. Thank you. Yes, y'all, the Lincoln Project. So her husband had something to do with the Lincoln Project, which is basically anti-Trump everything, right? And the fact that they knew this, and yet they still made this woman a unbiased moderator on this thing and let her continuously go after J.D. Vance and mute his mic, let us not forget, but never once went after Tim Walz for all of the lies that he told while standing on that stage. Again, I have an issue with the fact that we are continuously having to be shown these debates on airwaves and by moderators who are so biased that you cannot have an actual legit debate anymore. It used to be you had journalists and anchors out there, news anchors out there who could take their personal feelings out and ask the questions of the two candidates and moderate correctly. And that's no longer the case. I can't be a moderator. I already know I can't be a moderator because my face would give me away. Every single time dumpy face Tim Walz opened his mouth, I'd be like, no, that's not going to work for me. My face would give me away whether I said words or not. So I know I can't be a moderator, but I'm also not a journalist and I'm also not a news anchor. I am a chick with a camera and a microphone who makes YouTube videos telling you guys facts and my opinion on what's going on in the world. There's no reason I should be a moderator. There's also no reason any of the moderators we've had so far in any of these debates should be moderators because they cannot stay biased in any of it. And that's absolutely awful in my opinion. Now let's see, what else do we have here? Because again, I got a lot. And we're going to jump into all kinds of stuff. Oh, here it is. I had a link. Records reveal the husband of CBS debate moderator Margaret Brennan, who last night rudely fact-checked and interrupted Trump running mate J.D. Vance, the husband worked as a strategic advisor for the anti-Trump Lincoln Project in 2020. Thank you. Y'all said Lincoln Project. There was the rest of it. I was looking for that. So that to me should have automatically booted her out from being eligible to be a moderator for that discussion whatsoever. Now this is, I just want to show you this. My husband put this up on his YouTube and I want to show this to you. You see this? You see this? Tim Walz here with his hey girl, hey stance, right? And Kevin asked the question, what the heck is wrong with this guy? And numerous people said the what is right with him would be a shorter list. So let's go that route. But my very first thought was, what's wrong with him is he is a beta male. Now, I am not trying to hurt anybody's feelings. And if your feelings are hurt, that's on you. You may want to look inwards and figure out why. But beta males are destroying this country. Beta males are now putting on lipstick and fake tits and dresses and tucking their wieners between their legs and calling themselves girls. That is the problem right now. You have people like Tim Walz and the Democrats pushing that toxic masculinity needs to go away. Basically, that any man that has a pair, that has sacked up and done anything to take care of his home, his country, his children, his whatever, that there's something wrong with that. That having testosterone is a bad thing. Y'all, they are trying to panzify the US, and it is absolutely disgusting in my personal opinion. Now, there are women out there who will prefer a man who is tame and docile and neutered, basically. I am not that woman. If my husband walked around like Tim Walz, one, we wouldn't be married, okay? Nothing about that would have turned me on to want to have a date, let alone sex, let alone make a child, let alone get married, any of those things, right? But now you have the Democrats pushing that if you have testosterone, there is something wrong with you, that you are what is wrong with the United States, that Doug Emhoff is what the new masculine should be. This is what is being pushed, that Doug Emhoff, the one who cheated on his wife with the nanny, the one who they're saying now slapped a girlfriend because she flirted with a valet person, the one who also pushed the nanny to get an abortion, that he's the right kind of masculinity. You know what my husband has never done? Any of those things. So I'll take my form of masculine man over Kamala Harris's form of masculine man any day. I want to point that out because a lot of people are curious as to what is going on in our country. And it's because you have these like sackless men walking around pretending like they are what men should be. I do not want a man who's going to run and cry when there's a problem. I want a man who's going to stand up and figure out how to fix it. I want a man who, if there is danger, is going to protect me, not run away and leave me to protect myself. And unfortunately, with the Democrats, what you have are men who are so worried about having to defend themselves and their country that instead of being men and signing up for the Army or the Marines or anything else and serving our country and saving us, they would rather pretend that they are women and tuck and pose. Not my kind of masculine. Just putting that out there for everybody so you're all fully aware. Also, let's get into this real quick. North Carolina is being just obliterated and our government is doing nothing about it. They're telling you they feel bad for North Carolina and Asheville and the surrounding areas of the mountains of North Carolina, but they're not doing anything. And you're asking yourself, why? But why would our government not want to help people? This is why they don't really care about North Carolina. North Carolina is predominantly red at the end of the day. So why would the blue people in charge give two shits about the people in the red areas? They don't, because they're not going to be able to get their votes. And also, if they don't help them, Donald Trump also can't get their votes on November 5th. If they don't have electricity, if they don't have polling locations, if they don't have the mail carriers bringing mail and delivering mail. So of course, North Carolina is on the back burner for our government. So those are just things we needed to discuss real fast. Now to get into the other stuff that I have here saved for everything, figure out how to do this. Bookmarks on X, There's so much, y'all. Look, I'm going all the way down to the bottom. We're starting with JD Vance this time. We're going to talk about JD Vance and Tim Walz. Then we will get into the rest of the stuff. Why do I save so much stuff? I don't understand why I'm like this. Why am I like this? Because there's so much happening. It's impossible to just pick two things to talk about. Well, we don't need this anymore. Hold on. Work with me here. I'm trying to get rid of the stuff that we've already talked about and we don't need. I've done a lot here. Love you, girl. You rock. Thank you, PB. I don't know who you are, but I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Somebody said Asheville is actually pretty progressive. So I was actually going to mention that. I kept talking about how I wanted to go to Asheville because I went to like Biltmore House when one of my friends got married a couple years ago. My husband and I were there for that. And I realized that I wanted to go back to Asheville because I wanted to see fall. Where I live in Florida, there's no changing of the palm trees, right? Like I don't really get fall anymore like we did in Georgia. And I thought Asheville would be good because then we have bicycles. We could take our bikes and ride in the mountain. We could see the trees. We could get out and, just be with nature. We could also go to rooftop bars and listen to the live bands and stuff, like something for he and I to go out and do because, side note, marriages work best when husbands and wives remember that they are husbands and wives and not just mothers and fathers, not just bill payers, not just, workers or whatever else. So we try to always keep that husband and wife intact, as well as the mother, father intact, as well as the bill pay and everything else, right? So we were going to go to Asheville, North Carolina, but a lot of people were talking about how it is so very liberal now that it might not be a place that we would really enjoy. But the thing is, I still enjoy people no matter what. Like, I like meeting new people, and I like meeting people with differing opinions because I like having the conversations in hopes of either opening their eyes to something or maybe even teaching me something new, right? Like, there's nothing wrong with learning new things, and there's nothing wrong with seeing other people's opinions and their side and taking it into consideration. So I still wanted to go. But now, not going to happen anytime soon, especially since the government refuses to step in and do their part and try to, help fix the place and save the people in Asheville, North Carolina. Now, back to where I was. Sorry. What is this? Taylor Swift. Don't really care about Taylor Swift. Granted asylum because citizens don't really care about this one. There's a lot. I'm sorry. There's a lot that I have here. Kamala Harris campaign advertises fluff interview. Nope. Don't really care about that. All her stuff is fluff interviews. Farmers and homeowners in North Carolina. Found it. All right, here we go. So here's a hypothetical, okay? It says, what the crap? It just took me all the way back up to the top. Hold on. Oh, no, there it is. Here's a hypothetical. If the farmers and homeowners in North Carolina wouldn't sell their land to Piedmont Lithium, I wonder what could be done to incentivize them to sell. These people are sitting on lithium, which is worth billions. Maybe a flood from a hurricane that doesn't seem like a normal hurricane? Do you think losing everything they owned would make them sell? It still looks a lot like Lahaina to me. They wanted it and they took it. This is a post from somebody named Lisa over on X, basically parroting everything that I said yesterday. She said it separately, like we both said it at the exact same time, it seems. But that is the exact same thing I said yesterday, that the money that could be had from the land in these North Carolina counties, cities, areas, towns that are not being helped by the government right now, it's because at the end of the day, money over people. We've said it, profit over people since the beginning of this channel. It has been profit over people since day one for those in charge. They could give two shits about you and I, because guess what? If you and I were to go away, they'll just bring some more people in from another country to replace us, which is what they're doing on a daily basis anyway. The easiest way to run this country is to not have people who want to push back against how they want to run this country. You and I, we are their pushback. They're not going to do everything they can to save the people who are pushing back. They're going to do everything they can to ensure the people who are pushing back don't have the ability to push back for much longer. So when you see this, you see the fact that this hurricane went through that didn't look like any other hurricane they had ever seen, and it caused this damage in areas that never should have had this kind of damage, because it doesn't make sense. A hurricane never should have reached that area and caused this damage. You have to sit there and wonder why. And then when you find out that Piedmont Lithium has been trying for years to get the rights to basically all the land under Asheville, North Carolina and surrounding areas, and have been shot down numerous times by the residents. If the residents are the ones standing in the way of billions of dollars that are going to help the government because they can now sell it to other countries, guess what they're going to do? Get rid of the thing standing in the way. The residents. Hello. It makes perfect sense to me. Y'all, people call it conspiracy theory all the time, but how many conspiracy theories have come to fruition? That's all I'm going to say. How does it go? Y'all tell me in the comments here. It's a conspiracy theory until 6 months later, and then it's like reality. I don't remember the whole way it goes. There's like a phrase, but y'all know exactly what I mean. And this is accurate because you have a government who cares more about the money and the agendas they want to push than the people that they are hurting along the way. They do not care about you and I, because you and I over here on the right side, the Republican side, the conservative side, the even independent side, we do not help them push the agenda that they want. We do not help them with the acceptance of morally decrepit, just garbage that they are all about, right? So, okay, back to the debate. Sorry, I keep messing this up. So, the debate on, what was it, Tuesday? It's been days. I'm so late on the debate and I'm so sorry. But again, we've had so much to talk about. The debate itself, I watched it from beginning to end, and I've said it before and I'll say it again, that JD Vance will make an amazing president just for the way he speaks. Him and Vivek Ramaswamy, I believe, have a way of speaking that makes you listen to them. Now, in the beginning, I was not a huge Vivek Ramaswamy fan because he felt a little bit like a used car salesman to me. But the more I listened to him, the more I realized that is his pattern. That is his way of speaking. And the things that he says, though, y'all, they make perfect sense. He is a very bright man. JD Vance. He is your hillbilly cowboy, whatever. Like, that's how people view him. And the Democrats, in theory, should love him because he is married to a woman of color. That's what they would refer to her as, right? He's married to a woman of color. He's got children with somebody who's not like him, right? So in theory, he should be like the Democrats' dream. But because he is not on their side, suddenly he is their enemy, right? That's how it works. But JD Vance, when he speaks, you can tell that he is sincere. And the reason I say that is because JD Vance did not like Donald Trump. Guess who else did not like Donald Trump in 2016? Me. Guess who else was wary of him in 2020? Me. JD Vance as well. Because we were too, the right word is, I think brainwashed. Is that the right word? I don't really know if that's the correct word, but we were too trusting of what we were being shown by mainstream media, what we were being shown by politicians and everything else. We were too trusting of it instead of realizing that we were being sold a lie. We were being hoodwinked. And JD Vance woke up to it. I woke up to it. Numerous other people have woken up to it over the past 4 years, especially, with Biden in office. People are realizing that everything that we were told about Donald Trump wasn't true. It was the way they wanted to spin it to ensure that we wouldn't want him in power again, right? Because with him in power, things were going the way that was helping America as opposed to helping all these foreign entities, which is what the Democrats want. They want to help foreign entities before they ever want to help American citizens or American companies. So I noticed that. I opened my eyes. I started paying attention. I woke up to everything that was going on. JD Vance is the same. A lot of people didn't like him because of the fact that he didn't like Trump, right? But now when JD Vance talks, and they tried to jump on him about it on the vice presidential debate, they tried to jump on him about, oh, well, you've said these things against Trump. And he's like, yeah, you're right. I did say them because at the time, that's what I believed based off of what I was shown. Right? And I've said the same things. This is what you believe based off what you're shown. But if you quit looking at what you're shown and start looking for new information, start listening to new people, start paying attention to the person themselves, Donald Trump himself, not just the little news clips from the news, the media, you see something totally different. So what I love about JD Vance is that he is very honest about everything. He's honest about where he's messed up. He's honest about where he made his mistakes and how he was thinking and the things that he was backing and the things that he was saying. And he's like, listen, he doesn't try to hide it or fake it or pretend it didn't happen, unlike Tim Walz, who lies about every freaking thing under the sun. JD Vance owns it and then goes forward from there. He goes, yes, and not yes, but. And that's a huge difference. Yes, but tries to take the responsibility off of yourself, right? Yes, and puts the responsibility on yourself and then gives the reason why this is different. And so I like JD Vance because he is a yes and man instead of a yes but man, right? Well, he might be a butt man. I haven't seen his wife's ass, but he may be a butt man. Anyway, this little clip from the vice presidential debate, I think was extremely important because it's something that numerous people have said. And the left and the Democrats themselves refuse to acknowledge. So let's see if I can get this to work and not play 85 different sound clips. Okay, ready?
And Governor Walz, you blame Donald Trump. Who has been the vice president for the last 3.5 years? And the answer is your running mate, not mine. Donald Trump consistently made the world more secure.
That is what I loved. When he literally looked over at Tim Walz, he goes, who has been the vice president for the past 3.5 years? Your running mate, not mine. Because Tim Walz went up there and kept trying to poke at Donald Trump. And it's like, y'all keep forgetting the one in office for the last 3.5 years that you need to be looking at is the same one that now you want as president. Nothing has happened over the last 4 years because of Donald Trump. Everything has happened over the last 4 years because of Kamala Harris and because of Joe Biden. And they want to pretend like that's not the case. They want to pretend like it's not a thing. They want to try to gloss over it or gaslight the shit out of you so you don't understand it or believe it. But people are waking up. Not enough, in my opinion. There are still too many people out there, either with their head up their ass, their head in the sand, whatever. But people are waking up and they're noticing that. Even Tim Walz during the debate nodded along with JD Vance numerous times. Bro, you do not nod yes unless you are agreeing with what is being said, especially when it's your opponent who is speaking negatively about you and your running mate. You do not nod in agreement unless you agree, right? So JD Vance says here, during this one, the lady that her husband is basically the anti-Trump whatever. He says, you both seem to be missing the fact that under Donald Trump's leadership, no new global conflict happened. Everything Iran has done has been under Kamala's leadership, which is the case. You had Joe Biden, Kamala Harris talking about we can't have Donald Trump as president because he's going to start the next world war because he's going to bring so much conflict. Bro, everything that's going wrong in this world is going wrong under the Biden-Harris administration because of them, or not even in spite of them, but because of them. And they may not be the ones instigating it, but they're not doing their part in stopping it, right? They kept talking about how we've got to put a stop to this war in Israel and, Hamas, Palestine, whatever. We got to put a stop to this. We got to put a stop to this. And then Joe Biden went and, laid out on a beach, and Kamala Harris went on a campaign trail. Nobody running the White House. And things have escalated exponentially since then. None of them are doing their jobs because they're too worried about ending the last couple days of their presidency and vice presidency on a vacation note instead of a presidential, vice presidential note, right? So listen to this one, if I can get this one to work correctly. Let's try and see what happens.
Senator Vance, the U.S. did have a diplomatic deal with Iran to temporarily pause parts of its nuclear program, and President Trump did exit that deal. He recently said, just 5 days ago, the U.S. must now make a diplomatic deal with Iran because the consequences are impossible. Did he make a mistake? You have 1 minute.
Well, first of all, Margaret, diplomacy is not a dirty word, but I think that's something that Governor Walz just said is quite extraordinary. You yourself just said Iran is as close to a nuclear weapon today as they have ever been. And Governor Walz, you blame Donald Trump, who has been the vice president for the last 3.5 years. And the answer is your running mate, not mine. Donald Trump consistently made the world more secure. Now, we talk about what the sequence of events that led us to where we are right now, and you can't ignore October the 7th, which I appreciate Governor Walz bringing up. But when did Iran and Hamas and their proxies attack Israel? It was during the administration of Kamala Harris. So Governor Walz can criticize Donald Trump's tweets, but effective, smart diplomacy and peace through strength is how you bring stability back to a very broken world. Donald Trump has already done it once before. Ask yourself at home, when was the last time, I'm 40 years old, when was the last time that an American president didn't have a major conflict break out? The only answer is during the 4 years that Donald Trump.
So that is true. The 4 years that Donald Trump was in office, we did not have any sort of major international breakout, anything with the U.S. involvement. And that is a huge deal. And that's also why the Democrats do not want Donald Trump back in office, because war is profit. They profit from war on a daily basis. We talked about this numerous times before, that the war in the Ukraine is basically the way that the U.S. right now is laundering money, because a lot of the government contracts, that are being given to make the missiles, the bullets, the military equipment, the everything, a lot of these contracts are going to companies that are DBAs from like doing business as blah, 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 but they are under our government. So the government is siphoning money back into itself by supplying stuff for the war for Ukraine. It is the most money laundering thing you will ever see in your entire life. And that's why they need this to continue. That's why they're not trying to put a stop to the war with Ukraine and Russia, why they're not really trying to put a stop to the war with Israel and Palestine, Hamas, now Iran and Russia and everybody else, because at the end of the day, it's all about profit over people, profit over absolutely everything. And it's sickening. It's absolutely crazy that this is where we are. And it's unfortunate that this is where we are, but this is where we are. Please hold. I'm trying to get to the live chat. I've closed it out here, and I'm trying to see what you guys are talking about. If I can get over here, make sure the volume is off. So I just want to see what you guys are doing over here. Make sure everybody's good. It looks like it. Let me leave this here. Why has no one brought up the children? Where are the missing children? So I've talked about that a couple of times. There's been a lot of talk about it because there's missing children from what's going on from Hurricane Helene. There's still missing children from Lahaina that nobody's talking about. People are going, why aren't the parents speaking out? I think the reason you're not hearing a bunch of parents speaking out is because they don't have the ability to do so. If you're in an area where There is no help going in. They're not allowing planes or helicopters or anybody in. There's flood waters. There's no electricity. There's no internet. There's no anything. You're not going to have the social media presence of the people saying, help me find so-and-so, because it's not feasible. I also think that there are platforms out there and news stations out there that are silencing these things on purpose because they don't want it to be out. They're not going to send out a reporter to talk to the person who says that their children are missing. They're going to send out the reporter to talk to the person that says they're so thankful that Kamala Harris showed up in Augusta, Georgia. They have their own agenda, and their agenda is not to help the people that actually need help. Their agenda is to help the Democrats somehow, some way, whatever. So that's why I think we're not hearing about the missing children and all the other issues. But we are hearing, especially if you're on X or if you're following my channel and numerous others, you are seeing the videos from people who are boots on the ground, who are there in these areas that have been impacted by Hurricane Helene, and you're seeing that they're not getting the help they need. The news are telling you maybe 200 people have died, and you have others saying 500 body bags have gone out, and there's people floating by in the water. Like, it is definitely way worse than mainstream media wants the average public to know, because people, for some reason, don't like to deal with reality. A lot of people prefer to live in their bubble and keep everything sugar-coated and whatever else because it makes their life easier. A lot of people don't like it when their lives are disrupted by what's happening to other people. We need this disruption. We need people to know what is going on so that people will open their eyes and do what they can to help other people. Member for women. Oh, December Herrera. Hi, honey. Thank you for being over here. I appreciate you very much. Yeah, so a lot of stuff is going on right now. Let me back out of there. I have to leave that so I can get back over here to the bookmark so we can continue on. But I hope you guys are doing okay over here. I made myself a hot tea before we started and I haven't touched it yet, so it's cold tea now. That's not the point. This one here says, where is this one? Go. No. Don't you dare clear all bookmarks. I would lose my mind. Hold on. I almost messed everything up. So I want you to hear this one as well. This is, again, J.D. Vance, Tim Walz. No, I just want you to hear what J.D. Vance has to say.
Honestly, Tim, I think you got a tough job here because you've got to play whack-a-mole. You've got to pretend that Donald Trump didn't deliver rising take-home pay, which of course he did. You've got to pretend that Donald Trump didn't deliver lower inflation, which of course he did. And then you simultaneously got to defend Kamala Harris's atrocious economic record, which has made gas, groceries, and housing unaffordable for American citizens. I was raised by a woman who would sometimes go into medical debt so that she could put food on the table in our household. I know what it's like to not be able to afford the things that you need to afford. We can do so much better. To all of you watching, we can get back to an America that's affordable again. We just got to get back to common sense economic principles. Honestly, Tim,
I agree see, this is what I'm saying. The way J.D. Vance talks, he doesn't talk to you like you're stupid, which I have a tendency to do to people that are stupid. I have a tendency to talk to them like they're as dumb as they are. J.D. Vance is able to keep that calm, neutral tone, which is very soothing and captivating and makes you listen to him whether you want to or not, right? I don't have that ability, which is, it is what it is. Stealth Mode, welcome to part of the family, and Hubert Wise, welcome. I appreciate you both. Thank you for being here. I think what J.D. Vance has to say is always important and worth listening to because he is not afraid to say what needs to be said, and he doesn't pull punches, right? But he does it in such a way that after he's done basically bending you over and giving it to you, that you're like, oh, thank you, sir. Can I have another, please? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you're okay with the way that the information was delivered. You don't feel like you just got reprimanded or whatever else. And maybe it makes you think about it. Like, I do not like Tim Walz. All right. Let me just make that just absolutely abundantly clear. I do not like Tim Walz. I think he is the most beta male out there. I think he is an absolute piece of shit. I think he lies through his mouth like nobody's business. I think he probably dreams and lies like everything. But the fact that he was able to stand there and he did listen to J.D. Vance, he did take into consideration what he was saying. It gives him just 1 point for me. I'm not even going to lie. 1 point for him just for listening. He's still a sack of shit, but at least 1 point for listening. Michael Fisher, thank you so much. I appreciate you, sir. And I like that it has like little trees on the side of the sticker you sent. Love it. But Tim Walz is what is wrong with men. So this morning, y'all, my husband took me to brunch this morning because I cook breakfast and dinner and everything all the time, and I take care of the stuff. I'm literally like a 50s housewife because I love it. And this morning he said, let me take you to breakfast. So we went to brunch and we're having a conversation and we're talking about it. And I'm talking about the destruction of America with beta males. And I can guarantee you that the person sitting to my right was a beta male. And at some point during our conversation, the guy is sitting there, right? And he's doing this. And then he looks over at us, and I'm paying attention to him, and he just does this kind of thing, like where he gives you the middle finger. And I'm like, that's the most beta thing you could do. Why can't you just turn to me and say, shut up, I don't like what you're saying. Instead, you kind of, vagina it up instead of using the P word. And, bro, get a sack. Like, anyway, that's not the point of anything. It amused me immensely because he basically showed me that he is a beta male in the way that he responded to the conversation my husband and I were having. But anyway, not the point. Not the point at all. Let's get back to where we were. I lost my spot. Hold on. We're back. Okay. We took that one off. Let's go to the next one here. Oh, what is this one? Oh, that's 14 minutes long. We're not doing it. So I'm not going to play the whole thing, but this is Donald Trump when he went to, I believe, Valdosta after Hurricane Helene. He found a dry spot, right? And he went to have a conversation about what was going on and what he is doing to help the people in Georgia and numerous other areas. Passive aggressive behavior is becoming more aggressive and sometimes violent. David Smith, you are correct. Passive aggressive behavior will get you throat punched in with me. Like, I do not do well with passive aggressive men. I can be passive aggressive sometimes in certain situations, but if a man comes at me in a passive aggressive way, literally ew. Like, if you ask women, what's your biggest turn on? Passive aggressive men with sand in their vaginas? Sure as shit, ain't it? Just, fellas, little heads up there, just in case you happen to be one of those guys, work on that. Matt Walsh says, imagine how mystifying it must be for the normal American who has heard from the Dems that JD Vance is weird, only to turn on the debate and see this totally calm, cool, well-spoken, and eloquent guy, which is exactly what I said. You have the Democrats calling JD Vance, weird, because he is what I feel like most American men are. Yet they're calling Tim Walz and Doug Emhoff what American masculinity should be. It's like living in the upside down on Stranger Things. It's like the upside down where nothing makes sense and everything is horrific and terrifying. Like, if there's just a country of Doug Emhoffs and Tim Walz's running around, no wonder women prefer women. Okay? Anyways, let's continue on. What do we have here? So this is from Colin Rugg. This is from 2 days ago. What just happened? Donna Marie, thank you. I appreciate you, ma'am, very much. So top headlines from the past 96 hours. This is from October 1st. Again, we're a few days late. Forgive me. As Kamala Harris fundraised and President Joe Biden relaxed on the beach. Remember, because that was what was happening. Hurricane Helene demolished communities in the Southeast in an apocalyptic disaster. 45,000 dock workers at ports. Where did I go? At ports from Maine to Texas go on strike. Iran launched a barrage of missiles at Israel despite Harris and Biden's previous warning of don't. That's what Kamala Harris said. What would you tell Iran? Blah, 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 blah. Don't. Clearly, she's not a mother because that did not work on any of us. A new ICE report revealed the Biden-Harris admin let in 425,000 illegal immigrants who are convicted criminals. Fun times. And the so-called leaders are focusing on what exactly? Podcasts, fundraisers, naps on the beach, and photo ops. You have all of these things going on since October 1st. And that is what you have your sitting president and your vice president doing. They're going on basketball podcasts where these men, there's no way that those men on the basketball players who did the podcast with Kamala Harris, there's no way that they knew what they were getting themselves into, or else they never would have done it, because people will talk shit about them for the rest of their lives. You have Biden forgetting what he's doing, where he is, what's going on. At least he remembered how to open a door. Just all kinds of things going on. And our president and vice president are just trash. Anyway, let's see. What else do we have here? So much. Please hold. Are you guys doing good? Everybody still okay over there in the live stream? Look, it's only 43 minutes. We might make it under an hour, but the way I'm still scrolling here, the odds are very, very small. Let's see. Something claims about Donald Trump, kind of blah, 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 blah. Okay, let's play this part. Hold on. I like this one. This one to me was very, very good. Very, very. Let's see. listen.
What these guys do is they make a lot of claims about if Donald Trump becomes president, all of these terrible consequences are going to ensue. But in reality, Donald Trump was president. Inflation was low. Take-home pay was higher. And he saved the very program from a Democratic administration that was collapsing and would have collapsed absent his leadership. He did his job, which is govern in a bipartisan way and get results, not just complain about problems, but actually solve them.
Again, the way JD Vance puts Tim Walz in his place, right, ladies? You know what I mean? Ooh, like, okay, daddy, like, do your thing. Like, that's the JD Vance kind of oomph. I don't even know what to call it. Either way, JD Vance is more, and the people are like, well, he wears eyeliner. Boo, wear eyeliner then. I don't give two shits, because you are still more of a man than that dumpy faced dude next to you. What is that fish called? I was going to make a whole meme about it, but there's this fish out there that looks just like Tim Walz. It's got the mouth like that and the nose like that. And I don't remember what it's called. I had a picture pulled up of it because it looks just like him, because it's also bald. And now I can't remember. I'll figure it out and I'll put it, globfish, that thing. Yes. Tim Walz is a globfish. Like, they could literally be twins. Like, if you were like, pick which one is Tim Walz, which one's the globfish, you'd be real hard pressed to figure out which was which. Let's see. The next one I have here is Byron Donalds. Again, Byron Donalds, huge fan of Byron Donalds. I was sad in the beginning when Donald Trump did not pick him as his VP running mate, but it makes sense. They're both from Florida, can't do it. When he picked JD Vance at first, even I was like, I don't know. I need to hear more from him. I'm perfectly okay with it. Here's what I think. Y'all, moments. JD Vance runs for president in 2028. Byron Donalds as his VP. OMG. Yes. I mean, women would be throwing their panties on the stage at the debates and at the rallies. That'd be a little awkward, probably. But either way, it would be a great ticket, right? So Byron Donalds, I want you guys to hear this. This is on the Breakfast Club. For those of you who don't know what the Breakfast Club is, it is a group of Black men and women who, you know, have their own opinions and stuff, but it has Charlemagne the Fraud, as I like to call him, as opposed to Charlemagne the God. Charlemagne the Fraud, again, not a huge fan. He's stupid as dirt, but thankfully he's willing and able to have these opposing views on his show, because they do not agree with Byron Donalds and Trump fans and Trump himself. But they realize that a lot of their people watching are moving from Democrats over to Republicans because they see that the Democrats do not care about Black people. They're just using them to get votes. If you step back and look at what the Democrats have done to help the Black communities, it's not much. What they've done to hinder it is far outweighs what they've done to help. And so Charlemagne the Fraud, God, whatever. The fact that he calls himself Charlemagne the God, I also have an issue with, but that's just me. So the fact that he brought on Byron Donalds, I thought was really good. And Byron Donalds went on there and he laid it out for him. And I want you guys to hear it. First, William says, have a hot tea on me, Michelle. Yule and S2 Underground are the best. I got to look up S2 Underground because I don't know what that one is. So thank you for that. And I mean, my tea is here. I just don't. It's still kind of warm, so that's a plus. So I want you to hear what Byron Donalds has to say here. Hold on for me 1 second. Let's get this going.
When Donald Trump was president versus when Joe Biden was president, that's what people are looking at right now. Mm-hmm. Donald Trump wages adjusted for inflation were up. Costs were stabilized. And so those two inputs in an economy make you feel like you have more money in your pocket. When Donald Trump came into office, under then President Obama, our economy was somewhat stagnant. We were growing about 1.5% per year. And so his changes in economic and tax policy in particular, but then also regulatory policy, where he cut a ton of regulations, our economic growth moved from 1.5 to 3.5. That's a real boost to people, and they see it and they remember it. Mm-hmm. Now you have the Biden-Harris economy. Well, we've stagnated again, and inflation is massively up. So how people feel is, wait a minute, I just went to the grocery store. I bought bread, I bought cookies, I bought milk. It's way more expensive. I got a raise, but it doesn't feel like I'm still getting ahead. My rent's more expensive. Fixing my car is more expensive. And all those things are obviously ascribed to the current administration because the inflation started really in September 2021 after the American Rescue Plan, that was Joe Biden's plan, came into law. Mm-hmm. So people are feeling that, Charlemagne. And I think that's why In the backdrop of politics, I talked a little bit about people moving under the feet of the parties. One of the reasons why black men in particular are starting to look at Donald Trump, because they're like, you know what? At least my pockets were good when he was president. The other stuff, that's other stuff. Well, I was making more money and my money was going further.
Now, I did see one comment that came through, something about unemployment was high, and they're saying, maybe they're saying unemployment is low now, but American unemployment or, company unemployment, because take into consideration the fact that unemployment numbers that they are telling you and they're showing you are not real. It does not take into consideration all the companies. Let me figure out how to phrase this, how this works. If a company has 10 job openings and they've only been able to fill one, then it looks like unemployment is high or low. I'm not really good at this. I'm not even going to pretend like I am. I'm trying to figure out how to explain this the correct way, to the way that I understand it, to make you guys understand it. Okay. When businesses were going out of business over the last couple of years because of COVID, they took their listings off of job openings. So it automatically made it look like if there's less listings, it looks like unemployment is going down because there's less open jobs, right? Something along those lines. It makes sense, I promise. If there's less people posting open jobs, it looks like unemployment is down. But is there less open jobs, or there's less companies working because they've all gone bankrupt, all gone out of business? There's still way more Americans out of work, just less jobs hiring. That's where they're getting their unemployment numbers from. They're saying that there are less jobs that need to be filled. Well, that's because there's less companies right now than there were 4 years ago. There's less people hiring because they can't afford to hire people than they could 4 years ago. Then you take into consideration that a lot of the jobs that were open, they weren't giving them to you and I. They were giving them to the illegal immigrants they were bringing in, because they were able to get tax credits for giving illegal immigrants a work visa or whatever else, and giving them jobs at the Tyson plant and other places where they didn't have to give them 401k and healthcare and overtime and any of that other stuff. So although you have the Biden-Harris administration trying to say they have the lowest unemployment rate, whatever, then you have the labor market coming out going, y'all lied about almost 1 million jobs. Side note, you have more and more actual American citizens out of work, even though they're telling you there's low unemployment. It's because they're fucking with the numbers. Like, they're gonna make it look however they want it to look for people to think things are good. Well, inflation's only at 2%. Boo-boo, inflation hit like 40%, and they finally got it where it's only now at 42%. Like, if every single year or month it's going up, and this month it only went up 2%, and they tell you inflation's only at 2%, you're forgetting about that 40% it went up before it only went up 2% this month. That's the whole thing. They are, and again, I'm going to use the word gaslighting. They're gaslighting the shit out of people who don't understand the way things work, who only see things for that day and don't pay attention to the past and don't care enough to pay attention to the future and what the past means for the future, right? You might be able to say we have low unemployment and we have low inflation, but it's not true. It is a false statement based off of what has actually happened over the last 4 years. This month, you have low unemployment because all the companies have gone out of business. So of course there's low unemployment. There's nobody hiring because there's no businesses left, okay? You have low inflation. It only went up 2%. Well, that's because it's gone up so effing much the last 4 years that there's only so much more it can go up before people literally will burn this country to the ground because they're so pissed off. So it only went up 2% this month. You're still at 42% overall from 4 years ago. So those numbers, honestly, don't mean shit to me because they're all fabricated, fake, smoke up your ass kind of numbers. So just keep those things in mind when you guys are watching mainstream media and being told by CNN and MSNBC and ABC and everybody else that, well, inflation's only at 2% and we've got low unemployment rates. Yeah, it's a lie, and don't fall for it. So there's that. Let's see, hold on. There's so much more. I don't know. We've already been here almost an hour again. Y'all, I keep trying not to do this to you, I promise, but it's almost impossible for me because there's so many things to talk about. Okay, it's the last one, I think, from the debate. Last one from the debate, and then we're on to some other stuff. For those of you who are still here, thank you. For those of you just tuning in, welcome. I love you all, no matter how long you've been here or how soon you plan on leaving. I still love you, and I appreciate you wanting to be part of this conversation. So this says, these nasty moderators tried to hide the truth about Kamala's app for illegal aliens, but JD Vance fact-checked them on national TV. For those of you who don't know, there is an app, and I have a video here that I'm actually going to put a link to this in the description because I don't know if it'll get me copyrighted, and I don't want to do that to this video. So I'm going to put a link to this in the pinned, no, not the description, the pinned comment after this live stream is all over. You guys can go watch where this guy literally used this app to be able to basically get himself an appointment to become a legal immigrant in like 5 seconds flat, right? But I want you guys to hear this first.
But,
Thank you, Senator. We have so much to get to.
Margaret, I think it's important
We're
because
going to turn out of the economy. Thank
Margaret,
you.
the rules were that
The
you guys weren't
economy,
going to fact check. And since you're fact checking me, I think it's important to say what's actually going on. So there's an application called the CBP One app where you can go on as an illegal migrant, apply for asylum or apply for parole, and be granted legal status at the wave of a Kamala Harris open border wand. That is not a person coming in, applying for a green card and waiting for 10 years. That is the facilitation of illegal immigration, Margaret, by our own
Thank you, Senator, for
leadership.
describing the legal
And
process.
What a condescending bitch.
Senator.
Those
We have
laws,
so,
Margaret, but
Thank you, Senator. We have.
So here's the problem. One, again, good thing I'm not there because I'm not a violent person, but I'm not gonna lie, I probably have violent tendencies, and that girl, nah, she would have swallowed a tooth. She's very condescending, and I was not a fan of that. Number one. Number two, this is when I was saying they cut off the microphones here. They shut him down. They cut off the microphones, wouldn't let him talk. And you see how they kept trying to talk over him. But when Tim Walz wanted to have a few extra moments to talk, no problem, Tim. Go ahead and do whatever you want, Tiny Tim, Tampon Tim, Little Tim, whatever you want to call him. They let him talk, no problem whatsoever. But when JD Vance is spitting facts and pointing out the fact that those two bitches were dumb as dirt, and he had receipts on exactly what Kamala Harris is doing to this country, they didn't want to hear it. They wanted him to be quiet. They wanted to talk over him. They wanted to be condescending and talk to him like he was stupid when he's not stupid. And I have an issue with that. That is the right kind of masculinity right there, where he's like, listen, y'all said you weren't going to fact check, but since you want to, let me show you some facts. Very nice, very what is the word? Very demure, very whatever the right words are there. The whole viral thing of demure. But I like the way he did not stand down, the way he did not back down to these women. Whereas Tim Walz, you know, I feel like a child could bark at him the wrong way and he would cower. Like, he has no cojones. But anyway, what just happened here? Hold on one second, guys. Linda Webb, welcome to a part of the family. Linda, so excited to have you. Thank you so much for being here. Now this here, Trump's GoFundMe for Hurricane Helene victims, y'all, has raised over. This was October 1st. I know it's way more than that now. Eagle Eye, thank you so much. I know it's way more than this now, but as of October 1st, it had raised over $2.1 million in less than 24 hours. And the media is not going to share it because they don't want you to know that Donald Trump is out there doing what he can to help the actual people. So you have Donald Trump. He started a GoFundMe for the people. Every single bit of the money in the GoFundMe is going to help the people of Hurricane Helene. And in the first 24 hours, it literally made over $2.1 million. People got mad at him. You have the left talking shit about the fact that he came out with some gold sneakers. He came out with all these other things that he sells. Guess what he also did? All that money that he made from selling those things, he just donated $25 million, if not more, to the victims of Hurricane Helene. Do you know how he was able to do that? By his side hustles, as I like to call it, where he was able to sell things to the American people that they would like, that they would enjoy. They paid for them. He took that money and turned around and helped American people. Hello, that is absolutely friggin' amazing in my personal opinion. And yet you have the Democrats over here trying to talk like he's just a businessman who only cares about himself. He's helping the people of the United States more than our government, more than the ones who literally put their hand on a Bible and took an oath to do the best that they could for the citizens of this country. They are not doing that. They are breaking that oath every single day with the way they spend our money on everybody but the American citizens. And here you have Donald Trump, who is a businessman, not a politician, who could spend that money doing anything, who does not even need to run for president, who did not take a paycheck for the 4 years he was a president. You have him out there in these areas where people need help, giving back to the communities, while you have Kamala Harris pretending to give two shits about the people of Georgia and Augusta, where she went, pretending to give two shits about the people of the country who are citizens, and you have Joe Biden lounging around on a beach. Like, Okay, yeah, Donald Trump's the bad one. Pfft, whatever. That one's vaccine related, so we can't do that because YouTube will yank it down immediately. Oh, so this one from the GOP posted. I want you guys to see this right here. I know it's backwards. I don't know why the live stream does that. When it's a regular video, everything's the correct way. The live stream puts stuff backwards. I'm sorry, it sucks. I know, I don't know how to fix it. But Tim Walz, Minnesota taxes among the highest in the country, okay? Tim Walz spent the part of the debate talking about how great Minnesota is and how they have the #1 healthcare in the state, in the country, and all this other stuff, right? Minnesota taxes are among the highest in the country. Governor Tim Walz raised taxes, as most governors were cutting them previously. Minnesota is the most expensive state to start a new business. This is according to a new study in 2024. NFIB, Minnesota's 9.8% corporate income tax is the highest in the nation. Okay, all right. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. If you're a small business, that's awful. If you're a huge corporation, maybe it's okay. Not quite sure. Mama Bear KMDM says the GoFundMe is at 5 million now. Nice. I've got to go find the link to that. I will put that in the pinned comment as well. If you guys want to donate to Donald Trump's GoFundMe for the Hurricane Helene victims, I will find the link to that and put it in the pinned comment so it's there, so it's in one spot. Not so serious Moonlight, thank you. I appreciate you immensely. I love y'all. Just I know I say it a lot. I love you guys immensely, but it's because I do. I just wanted to remind you. Minnesota is in the top 10 for marginal state individual income tax rate. That doesn't sound good. I'm not even gonna pretend like I know what that means, but I feel like if you're in the top 10 and they're putting it in this post, it's because it's a bad thing. I'm not gonna pretend I understand 100% what marginal tax rate means, but I feel like it's bad. So shame on you, Tim Walz. There we go with that. Let's see what else we have here. This is, the Middle East 2020 versus 2024. 2020, Donald Trump and other leaders sitting there signing some stuff and hanging out. 2024, bombs. Like, you're going to tell me that the Donald Trump administration made things worse for the world and our country than this current administration? You know what I mean? That's not how that works. Everything that's going on right now under the Biden-Harris administration is worse than anything that happened under the Trump-Pence administration. I didn't like Mike Pence, though. I don't know. He felt beta to me too. I didn't really like him. I'm very glad that this time around, Donald Trump said, listen, we need to make a change here. We need to have somebody that the American people feel a connection to, because I feel like more people feel a connection to JD Vance than Mike Pence and his Village People Get Up stuff. Like, not at all. Who is this? Let's see. Angela Alcorn, welcome to Part of the Family. Happy to have you here, ma'am. Thank you. Let's see. Shorty Wells, first time live with you. Love your videos. You're fun. And look, I don't know what happened. If you had a stroke while you were typing or the phone did it, you're fun. And I don't know what happened there. Mad props, man. But thank you, Shorty Wells. I appreciate you immensely. Thank you so much. Let's see. What do we have here? Even Meghan McCain, y'all, Meghan McCain during the debate posted, Vance is absolutely sweeping the floor. It's like the end of a Mortal Kombat game, and this debate just started. FYI, I'm not a fan of Vance. When you had people who did not even like JD Vance posting that JD Vance was doing an amazing job, I don't know if that's what you call the turning of the tides or what, but I feel like after that debate, you had more people who were possibly swinging towards the right side than before the debate. Because again, the debate with Tim Walz and JD Vance was a better debate, in my opinion, than the Kamala Harris, Donald Trump one, because it was more based on things that were happening and less based on Kamala's rehearsed, memorized speeches. It had nothing to do with the questions that were asked. At least JD Vance and Tim Walz stayed on topic with everything. So I really liked that. Let me see. There's a couple notes that came through here. Carol Ann, thank you very much for that. Listen, every time I see the name Carol Ann, don't go towards the light, Carol Ann. Poltergeist was one of my favorite movies growing up. I absolutely loved it. So Carol Ann is one of my favorite names ever. And Jules Enigma said, you to balls. I like it. I'll take it. EF, I don't know if that's EF12 stroke or EF12 stroke. I don't know. Fraudulent and treasonous representation, RICO Act on both parties and co-conspirators, MSM, entertainment, sports, education, 35 trillion debt, asset forfeiture. Okay, I got to look all that up. That's a lot of words, and my brain cannot brain on that right now. So I'm going to have to figure out what that is. I will look into that a little bit later, but thank you for that. And where am I at now? Oh, y'all, still so much. JD Vance refuses to accept the fake check, calls up moderators of the shutdown. We did that already. I said that Kamala enabled. Oh, this is the one, bruh. This is the one. Listen, stop, pause. It's like I don't know how to use a computer. This is the one. I told you numerous times JD Vance was talking and Tim Walz will be over there. I'm going to try to make his face. Hold on. That feels like Tim Walz. That's very unattractive. My husband would never have sex with me if I made that face. But that feels like a Tim Walz face. He nodded along with it. Like that feels like that fish, right? Anyway, so I want you guys to see this and hear this and watch Tim Walz, okay? Because this is great to me. Y'all ready? Look it.
I didn't accuse Kamala Harris of inviting drug mules. I said that she enabled the Mexican drug cartels to operate freely in this country. And we know that they use children as drug mules. And it is a disgrace and it has to stop. But I didn't accuse.
Tim Walz said, because JD Vance spoke the truth. And Tim Walz goes, that's true. Hello. Like, are you serious right now? Even Tim Walz knows that JD Vance is telling the truth. And Tim Walz is like, I mean, it's true. I don't really know how I'm going to come back from that, but okay, whatever. Tanya Newsom-Fry, thank you so much, ma'am. I appreciate you. Tracy Ann Zysett, you as well. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much. Oh, yeah, somebody said like Walter, Jeff Dunham's dummy. Yeah, I used to really, really like Jeff Dunham and all of his stuff, jalapeno on a stick and all of his puppets. I don't really agree with the man himself. I do like the puppets. I don't know how that works because without his hand up their ass, the puppets are just puppets. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, I think that's, let's see. I've always been open and sometimes good, blah, 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 blah. Oh, this is what I was telling you about. When I was saying that JD Vance has no problem admitting when he is wrong or when he has made a change of heart. And that's why I like him even more, because he is willing to hear new facts, understand new things, and change his opinion if necessary about things. If you are so hell-bent on always thinking the exact same thing all the time, you're going to have a really hard life. I mean, I change how I see things and my opinions on things as new facts and things are presented to me. I'm never going to be steadfast on one thing, except for the fact that I believe that the person running this country should have the interest of the people of this country at heart before anything else. And so for me, that does not mean Democrats, because currently the Democrats in office are showing me that they are not those kind of people. Donald Trump is showing me he is that kind of person, right? So that's the one steadfast thing that, anyway, so I want you to hear what they have to say here. If I can get this to work once again. It's like 2 minutes long, but it's worth it.
Senator Vance, in 2016, you called your running mate, Donald Trump, unfit for the nation's highest office, and you said he could be America's Hitler. I know you've been asked many times, and you've said you regret those comments and explained you then voted for Donald Trump in 2020. But the Washington Post reported new messages last week in which you also disparaged Trump's economic record while he was president, writing to someone in 2020, quote, Trump thoroughly failed to deliver his economic populism. You're now his running mate, and you've shifted many of your policy stances to align with his. If you become vice president, why should Americans trust that you will give Donald Trump the advice he needs to hear and not just the advice he wants to hear? You have 2 minutes.
Well, first of all, Margaret, because I've always been open. And sometimes, of course, I've disagreed with the president, but I've also been extremely open about the fact that I was wrong about Donald Trump. I was wrong, first of all, because I believed some of the media stories that turned out to be dishonest fabrications of his record. But most importantly, Donald Trump delivered for the American people. Rising wages, rising take-home pay, an economy that worked for normal Americans, a secure southern border, a lot of things, frankly, that I didn't think he'd be able to deliver on. And yeah, when you screw up, when you misspeak, when you get something wrong and you change your mind, you ought to be honest with the American people about it. It's one of the reasons, Margaret, why I've done so many interviews, is because I think it's important to actually explain to the American people where I come down on the issues and what changed. Now, you pointed out the messages from 2020. Margaret, I've been extremely consistent that I think there were a lot of things that we could have done better in the Trump administration in the first round if Congress was doing its job. I strongly believe, and I've been a United States Senator, that Congress is not just a high-class debating society. It's not just a forum for senators and congressmen to whine about problems. It's a forum to govern. So there were a lot of things on the border, on tariffs, for example, where I think that we could have done so much more if the Republican Congress and the Democrats in Congress had been a little bit better about how they govern the country. They were so obsessed with impeaching Donald Trump, they couldn't actually govern.
Now, I would like to point out that in that little speech of JD Vance's, he made the comment of, I believe when you misspeak or you are wrong or whatever, that you should own up to it. And I was like, oh, that felt like a little jab over at Tim Walz, who somehow continues to misspeak about where he was and when the deployment of troops happened to Afghanistan, and he thought he went to war, but technically he didn't, because he was running for some sort of seat in like the governor or something instead. Or when he said that he was a high school football coach, but technically he was an unpaid assistant coach because he couldn't be an actual coach because he had a DUI felony. Or when he said he was in Hong Kong in the whatever time frame of, what is it, 1969, but technically or 68, because he wasn't, because he was still in the United States, and they have actual proof of it with a picture of him in a newspaper, things like that, where Tim Walz goes, well, I'm just a knucklehead and I don't know how to speak sometimes. No, you just lie. You just lie. And then when you're caught in those lies, you don't know how to admit that you lied, or maybe even admit that you were wrong and then own up to the fact and then become truthful. You just continue on with the lies. But that's cool. That's cool. So that's what it felt like for me when JD Vance said that it was a small little dig over at Tim Walz, who didn't seem to get it. So there's that. There's so much more, y'all. It's been an hour and 10 minutes. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it to you. I'm going to let you go, and we'll do more again later, because there's still more with the hurricanes and excuse me, gave myself hiccups. This is just so you know, this is the link that I'm going to put in the pinned comment. It's going to be to X, and it's an Elon Musk one, because it's got this guy's video where he's doing the app or whatever to become a legal immigrant, or however the crap it goes. I'm going to put a link to that in the pinned comment so you guys can watch it. And then there's numerous other things I want to talk about, and it's going to have to wait till tomorrow, because we are actually on a time crunch today. Not normally, but today we are on a time crunch, my husband and I. So tons more tomorrow. Hopefully you guys should come back tomorrow for the rest. And Allison Carr, welcome to Part of the Family. Hi, honey. Glad to have you here. Thank you guys for being here for this conversation, for all the comments that you guys left in the live chat, and for the conversations y'all are having with each other. And make sure you leave any comments you want afterwards. I do check all the comments. I try to get back and watch all the live chat when I can, but I check the comments all the time, and I try to respond to as many as I possibly can. I love y'all. I hope you have a safe rest of your day. It is Friday. I know that yesterday there was some random flash flooding along the west coast of Florida. Never eat shredded wheat. I have to do that. The west coast of Florida, where Clearwater and places already got hit last week from the hurricane. Jennifer L., welcome to Part of the Family. Also, ma'am, lovely to have you here. Make sure you guys are safe. Just pay attention to what's going on. I would say at this point in time, because you just never know what's going to happen, I think everybody should maybe have a life jacket somewhere with them at all times, like in your car, in your house, something, a life jacket, if nothing else, because I can swim, but I cannot tread water for days. So there's that. I have a life jacket now in my car, because you just never know what kind of weather they're going to throw at us these days. So there's that. I love y'all. I will see you guys again tomorrow. And until then, deuces. Bye.